change those odds and bring hope to those in need.
This is Rogers TV.
Welcome to Daytime Ottawa here on Rogers TV. It is a special edition. This is actually our last live show until we return live on January 9th. But of course, we'll continue with some of our holiday programming. So make sure you keep checking that schedule. And we have a little teaser coming up as well. I got to sit down with Mark Sutcliffe for a full half hour, another special edition of Daytime that begins airing December 23rd. And we'll give you a sneak peek of that interview in just a little bit. But this today's show is about looking back to some of the top stories of 2022, and very pleased to start with my first guest, Kimothy Walker, CEO of Tiger Lily Marketing. How are you? We're back together again.
I know. The election was so much fun, and I just come in because I want to hang out with you and talk about stuff. We were sitting here laughing before your show even began.
Talking about a lot of things we probably couldn't talk about on live television, I'm not going to lie. But we're going to talk about a lot of things that we can talk about on live television. And some of the, the top stories, there's many of them here in the city of Ottawa. Let's start with the LRT. Of course, the story of the LRT, and then what came out of the inquiry. What did you make of what came out of that inquiry? I laugh because it was pretty scathing.
Yeah. There was a lot that came out. The number one thing for me is accountability. When are we going to hear from the individuals that were called out for that? Principally Steve Plagakis, former Mayor Jim Watson, and John Manconi.
Yeah, and Jim did come out. I mean, he did put out a statement. He released a statement. I'm not sure a lot of us were very happy with that statement in particular, but I'd like to hear from him.
As a journalist, wouldn't you like to ask questions, though?
Yes, I would.
Right? To be able to ask questions about certain things. Statements, certainly as a communications consultant, you always want that opportunity to say, but what about this? And a statement is what I would certainly have advised as a consultant.
Right. Yes.
That's what I would say, is put out a statement so that they can't ask you questions. Because
and then disappear.
As a journalist for 25 years, I want that opportunity to say, but what about this? But putting out a statement was the wise thing to do, because you don't want to answer those questions.
And the other thing is the transparency, right? The conversations that were happening, and then the lack of sharing information with City Council really stood out with me. I mean, councillors were just beside themselves, right?
When I got to the part where I heard that secret conversations were being had, as that day unfolded and we started to get the information, and I got to the part where I heard that those conversations, my heart just sank. Yeah. Because at that point when you're hearing that shouldn't have been happening. So I knew that this had gone off the tracks, and I didn't mean to say that. but
pun not intended, but it's a good one.
I knew then that the rest of the report, as it got to the conclusion part, was not going to be good, and then it made sense to me why Steve Plagakis had resigned in advance. Yeah. Because then he wasn't going to have to answer questions.
It was 48 hours, 72 hours before the release, right?
48.
Before the
48.
Unbelievable.
Then it made sense to me.
Yeah.
And I think for the taxpayers, that became the point of frustration, is how did this happen?
Yeah, and you know what? I mean, at this point, Kimothy, I don't know if you feel the same way, but we just have to move forward, right?
But we have to work with these people now for a long time, because there's a contract.
Yeah, you're talking about the RTG, the group itself, for sure, and we'll see what comes out of this. I mean, the problem is there could be lawsuits, and then that's more taxpayers' money that gets flushed down the toilet and so on. We got lots of other stories. Let's talk, as you like to call it, Honkorama, the Freedom Convoy, the occupation, whatever you want to call it. I mean, huge story, right?
Huge story, and sort of like the LRT report, I like to look at the good things. What did we learn? Right. What can we do better in the future? Certainly with that, what did we learn? And there were good things. I mean, as you know, I had a stranger live in my house.
Yeah, this is a bizarre story. Tell me about this story.
It was a friend of Max Keeping's.
Okay.
So someone obviously that I could trust, and lived right above all of that, and was trying to work, and was really, their mental health was suffering. And I had a house with an extra bedroom and an extra bathroom. Why not?
Yeah.
And a lot of things that were good happened this year, and I think a lot of bad things happened in Ottawa this year.
Yeah.
So I keep trying to look at what are some of the good things that happened.
So what do you think good came out of that?
You know, Erin Benjamin, who celebrates live music, and of course there was no live music. She actually sent me a Facebook message and reminded me that Dave Khalil did all those home concerts and raised $200,000 for charity. So we all watched those concerts when we were in, and then he won the big award, the Mayor's Award for that. So that's a good example of something that happened that was good when we were all locked in. We thought that remember when we thought that COVID would be over by June?
Yeah.
And I had a regular spot with Mark Sutcliffe when he used to do radio. And when COVID first hit, he said to me, I don't think the kids are going back to school by the end of the year because of this COVID thing. And I thought,
come on, Mark.
Stop it. You're crazy. That's never going to be. And here we are. I'm booked for my booster tomorrow morning, and now my flu shot, because we have flu, RSV,
and COVID,
And what's it doing to our healthcare system?
Oh, I mean, that's another story, right?
This year.
Looking back at 2022, the healthcare crisis. I mean, which is ironic because, you know, I would say during the first 2 years of the pandemic, you know, the nurses and frontline workers and PSWs and doctors, they're our heroes. And then we get into this third year of the pandemic, and all of a sudden, this whole system is crumbling right before our eyes.
Yeah.
And you've got a provincial government with Doug Ford that seems to be in a battle with healthcare and education, right?
Right, doesn't want to see it. And as you know, I entered the healthcare system because of a very bad car accident in June. And I sat there in the emergency for a very long time, and I saw the wait time for other people who didn't come in an ambulance, and it said 13 hours. And in June, we didn't really know, and I found it shocking.
Yeah.
Now nobody finds 13 hours shocking. In fact, that might be a good day in some places in Toronto.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, absolutely.
And the Red Cross going into CHEO, right? I mean, as you know, I did the telethon for 25 years, and the Red Cross having to help. This is going to be a story that doesn't go away. In the next year.
For sure, because it's so multifaceted, right? We talk about the lack of staffing within the healthcare system, but the other thing that I've been talking about with a lot of healthcare workers is the lack of technology. I don't know about you, but I go to a clinic, and I've had 3 doctors, by the way, in the last 2 years because they leave for whatever reason. But the systems they're using is archaic. It looks like they're working on a Hyperion from, you know, the 1980s. It's crazy. I
had tests that night that I was in the emergency room where the technician told me that 2 times out of 3, the ECG machine, because I got the steering wheel to the chest.
Right.
2 out of 3 times the ECG machine doesn't work.
What? Okay, we're going to take a quick break. You're going to stick around because we've got a couple of other stories. We had, of course, the municipal election, provincial election. We'll be right back after this.
Yep.
This program is brought to you by Ignite TV. Now you're in command. Visit Rogers.com for more details.
Hi, my name is Arkantel and I'm part of Encore Ottawa. My set will be coming out this week, so I hope you can watch it and enjoy it. Thank you.
Hey everyone, everyone. I'm Naya Ali. Join me on December 21st at 8 p.m. for the premiere of Illumination, a showcase of Canadian arts and culture which highlights our talent and diversity. Let's celebrate the light that brings us together with a variety of performances that will take us on a journey. From New Brunswick to the Yukon, by the way of Manitoba, Alberta, Ontario, and my home province of Quebec. See you there.
At Celebrate Ottawa, we love showing you something a little different. We showcase remarkable people highlighting the city's diversity in arts, culture, sports, and nature. We will show you features that prove Ottawa is more than just the nation's capital. We'll entertain you and we'll teach you new things. Join me, your host, Lila Grime, as we explore and celebrate Ottawa.
Hello, I'm Jim Deeks, host of Canada Files. I hope you'll join me each week for interesting and informative discussions with some of Canada's most impressive people.
Join me for Season 3 of Paula Roy's Favorite Foods. Whew, that was a lot. I think I need a nap.
Welcome back to this special edition of Daytime Ottawa. We're looking back at the top stories of 2022. I'm joined by Kimothy Walker for a second segment. And let's move on to elections, because you and I did election night.
Oh, so fun.
It was a lot of fun, but not surprised that Mayor Sutcliffe won. Certainly surprised by the amount of votes he won by. Yep. What did you make of Mayor Mark Sutcliffe winning by that amount?
I think it spoke to what we had been saying in the discussions in between when results came in, is that Catherine didn't reach the suburban vote. And I think there are a lot of reasons for that. One was they were so strong in the convoy reaction.
Right.
So strong.
Yeah.
And as you know, I live downtown, and it really resonated with my local community. But I also was raised in Orleans and lived there through my daughter's early years. And I can tell you, it didn't quite reach.
Really? That's interesting.
It didn't quite reach suburbia because bike lanes and that kind of spend might not have been a topic. The other thing that I strongly suspect is that there wasn't going to be a strong. I'm picking my words carefully. I think that there is still a bias against trans people in our community.
Yeah. I think there's something to that for sure.
And I think that that is the unspoken thing that people didn't really want to address.
Something else stood out to me too, Kimothy, because if you were on social media, Catherine McKenney, they had a lot of support on social media. And I think people forget, and Matthew Fleury said it really well to us. Remember?
This is a good point.
He said,
don't forget.
Literally, don't forget, only about 15% of the population of Ottawa are on Twitter. So don't think that your circle of influence has that big of a reach. And speaking on that, I'll move over to the provincial election, because again, if you were on social media, you would have thought Doug Ford didn't have a hope in hell of winning, right? You would have thought he didn't have a hope of winning. Right. But again, don't use social media as sort of your bar, all right, of measuring things and so forth.
But don't forget too that long before social media, because I'm old, I've been covering elections for 34 years. I started as Max's election researcher as a student when I was 20. Pollsters also sometimes I have called elections and been so wrong that we have had to move a satellite truck to another location on election night, like pulling out cables because all of a sudden it's wrong, because I think a lot of people really decide the minute they get there. Or they change their mind the minute they get there.
Name recognition too. I mean, look at the municipal election, to go back there for a moment. All the incumbents that ran won. Right? I mean, we had a lot of turnover, but that's because many people decided not to run.
There were a lot of open seats. And
Yeah.
that was so fascinating about that night, too, is historically such a dramatic change. And I was so interested in then what happened and watching them on social media, because obviously I have a social media department within our company, is watching them on social media learn so much in the first week. You know, when those that are on social media talking about how you study to be a counselor, and they put these manuals in front, boom.
Yeah.
Here's what you need to know to decide on a budget. Mm-hmm. Not my idea of a good time, let me tell you. I did not do well in grade 10 math. I went to Gloucester High School for summer school, and but I think Mayor Sutcliffe, Mark, my friend, is doing a really good job of just keeping everything peaceful and quiet.
But it's
right
a honeymoon phase, right?
First 100 days.
Well, you know, we'll see moving forward. I think,
but
and you know
Mark
what?
is a calm person.
He is, for sure. And I will give credit to the rest of council, too, who have come into this with an open mind and very calm as well. I think they've done a pretty good job with the chairs that they've chosen for committee. I know some people are disappointed that a lot of the new faces, none of the new faces became chair, but they'll have the opportunity to be vice chairs and to learn, right? You have to take that experience for something, right? And
I think, oh, there was some excitement outside of your studio.
I hear some yelling out there. It's probably Sandra Plagakis who's coming on in just a little while. I guarantee you that's the screaming we hear out there, for sure.
And last show, and it's festive.
That's right. Yes, exactly. Exactly. You know what? Yeah, let's end this last 2 minutes with some positives.
Right.
What do you look back at 2022? What was one of the positive things that stood out to you?
For me, the conversation around mental health keeps deepening, which I think is so important, and certainly something that impacted my life after the car accident as someone who was diagnosed with PTSD after the car accident. Some of your viewers may not know about that, but I was hit by somebody who ran a stop sign and was seriously injured. And for me, just knowing that so many people out there had talked openly about it was such a comforting place for me to understand that I was not alone. And every year that the pandemic kept going, more and more people talked about it. And in the break, you talked about, look at the difference just in the last 10 years.
For sure, the conversation is really open. It's not as taboo as it used to be. And so many public figures like yourself have come out and shared their stories. How are you celebrating the holidays?
I'm not.
Okay. All right. Well, welcome. The Grinch has arrived.
Well, I mean, that's not true. I'm doing the Friendamus. What does Jennifer Aniston call it?
The Festivus.
Not the Festivus.
Oh, no, the Festivus is the best.
They do the Friend Christmas thing.
Oh, okay, I see.
Yeah, Christmas is a difficult time in my family because of losses that we've had in the past. So to put a positive spin on it, we moved the dates to different dates. Because,
well, I'm glad you mentioned that too, because speaking of mental health, we've done a lot of entertaining and a lot of Christmas concerts and all these wonderful things that are going on, but a lot of people, it's a difficult time for them. So this is a great message to end our conversation with, is that it's not fabulous for everybody. So just keep that in mind. Kimothy, thanks so much for joining us.
I just love seeing you, and I love seeing you reunited on your show.
It was a lot of fun. We'll be right back after this.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm Mallory, and I was walking home one night when an impaired driver hit me. He had been overserved in 2 bars before getting behind the wheel. If the servers would have called him a cab instead of serving him more alcohol, my life would be the same as what it used to be. I think servers play the biggest role in keeping us safe because it's up to them what state the person's in when they leave. Refusing service isn't personal, it's the law.
I don't care what the law is. I will never be a slave. That word, I hate it. It rests on my tongue like rot.
Peter, how does it feel to get paid for your work?
There are rumors freedom's coming for us all.
Freedom, you know that's all I want.
Chloe, careful. Real men would rather sell you across the river to America than let you go free.
Then I'll run.
before. Maybe this time for good.
Just get her into the boat. No! Chloe? Chloe, no!
Word of Chloe Cooley's resistance led to Canada's first legislation limiting slavery. After 200 years, slavery was abolished in Canada in 1834.
It's a new season of The New Fly Fisher on Rogers TV.
Little brown girl, little brown girl.
Hey, I'm Picasso Win Von Teef. I'm so happy to be involved with Encore Ottawa Season 3. I can't wait for you guys to see what I have in store for you.
Welcome back to Daytime Auto. We continue looking back on the year of 2022, but we're going to switch gears a little bit and look back of pop culture. What are some of the top stories? And I couldn't think of a better person to have on this show than Sandra Plagakis, host of Sandra and Chris in the Morning on 105.3 Kiss FM. Welcome.
Thank you for having me. I don't know. It's just a little something I threw on, guys. I was going to wear it anyway. I thought, well, I'll just wear it to the studio.
Well,
Why
you look
not,
fabulous.
You know
you're
very
fabulous.
Much. I don't. I mean, do I? I don't know. Do I?
And I appreciate you doing this because I know this is a really busy time of year for everybody in radio, and including yourself. Well, let's talk about it. How are things going down there at 105.3?
They're going really good. We're having
Excellent.
fun. We're doing all kinds of great stuff. We're giving away stuff. We've got 50-50 draws.
Yeah.
Life is good.
Okay. Well, let's dive right into some of the top stories. Let's start with the slap. I mean, do I even have to say?
Every time someone says the slap, it's the Greek lady in me. It's like the
you go
threat of the backhand, right?
Yeah.
Except this wasn't a backhand. I am still mortified that my eyeballs witnessed this slap. I can't believe we all, and all of us wanted to believe that it wasn't real, but it was.
I still watch it every now and then and think that it had to be a setup because it was just so bizarre, Sandra.
I know.
Completely bizarre. So, okay,
right?
I will say this. Let's say somebody's living under a rock and they did not see the slap. They have no idea what we're talking about. You explain.
Okay, well, Chris Rock was obviously hosting the Oscars. He told a joke about Will Smith's wife, Jada Pinkett Smith.
Mm-hmm.
He made mention of the fact that she has a bald head. Now, she has alopecia. She's talked about this.
Mm-hmm.
He did not know that, and he made a G.I. Jane comment.
Right.
He thought he was being funny. This is what comedians do. Will Smith, something happened to Will.
Like just snap. Because he was laughing.
He was laughing until...
And then he looked over at his wife, at Jada, and she was like,
And he's like...
He snapped.
He unhinged right on international television, started heckling the guy, and I went... Oh, I thought that was a joke. But when he got up and slapped him, I was like, oh, and here we are.
What
and
was it? Keep my wife's name out of your mouth.
Keep your wife's name out of your mouth. I died a little for Chris Rock because when someone slaps you on an international stage, I mean, what are you going to do? He handled it pretty well, but for me, it was, I'm still like mad at Will Smith about it a little bit.
Well, and it's hurting his career. He's got the his movie in theaters right now, and it's not doing very well.
He was one of the most likable, bankable Hollywood stars, and now he's this angry dude who flies off the handle if you say something wrong to the guy.
Yeah.
I don't want to go inside. Even me, I'm like, I'm not going to go see your movie. Well, sorry.
Another big news story: the Amber Heard, Johnny Depp trial, televised. All eyes on this. I mean, Amber Heard just settled out of court. I mean, and she said very specifically that this doesn't mean I'm conceding that Johnny was right and I was wrong.
It had to end. Somebody had to end the drama because nobody wins in divorce.
Right.
Trust me, I know a couple of things on the subject. Nobody wins. So just end it quickly, cut your losses, and move on with your lives. But my God, I'm going to tell you something. I did not watch the trial on television or whatever it was.
Yeah, I didn't either.
But I was all up in it on TikTok because they were doing like snippets on TikTok, and I was just getting all the feeds, but I would only get the good stuff.
Right.
And it was so sensational, and I'm just like, I am better than this, but am I? You know what I mean?
It's true. I mean, I read the articles. I'm not on TikTok. I know. I'm over 50. Of course I'm not on TikTok. I mean,
what are you talking about? TikTok is great. You get on TikTok and you'll find your algorithm. I'm in old lady TikTok where old ladies complaining about their husbands.
I'm afraid of
I love that.
algorithms.
Oh,
My
you're going to
goodness.
be, you know what TikTok algorithm you be in? Dudes with good hair TikTok.
Oh.
Right?
Well, maybe
There's
I will
a
get
whole
on.
bunch of you guys with great hair.
Thank you for the compliment.
I'm
I
here for you.
appreciate that.
I'm here for you.
Let's move on to pop culture. And some people might say, you know, the Queen's death part of pop culture.
Ooh,
it is.
Of course it is.
Because they're followed wherever they go. And then, of course, you had the Meghan and Harry fallout that's been happening, right? It seems to be a progressive sort of thing.
Right. I'm not going to say I binge watched their docuseries.
But you did.
100%.
Really?
I got right all up in that.
What did you make of it? Because there's been a lot of criticism and a lot of support.
The first 3 episodes they released, I thought it was a whole lot of nothing.
Really?
And I thought,
Okay.
you know what? They're just doing, they're spin doctoring their own story because obviously they're off on their own and whatever. And I thought to myself, I don't really feel too bad for these privileged people who talk about how wrong they've been. I mean, guys, you're doing okay in life. You're
Right,
fine.
yeah.
And then by the last 3 episodes, the second half of it, I mean, really to me, the docuseries was about how awful the British media is. Just awful.
It's always been awful.
But I mean,
it really is.
I mean, they're racist. They said horrible things about Meghan, and I mean, they were showing comparison headlines to the way they treated Kate to the way
Right.
they treated Meghan. And yeah, she's got a valid point, and I get that they tried to walk away. And hearing more about the details about how they came to Canada and their, how their security team was pulled from them, and they didn't see that coming. We heard a different story. We heard about how they were divas and they expected the Canadian government to pay for their security. I don't think that even happened.
Interesting.
I thought it was very interesting.
Okay,
I have a little bit of sympathy.
I'm going to watch it because I'm not a royal watcher. I'll be honest with you. I'm not a royal watcher.
I'm not a monarchist. I'm just there for the drama.
I got you.
They're a messed up family. They're like the Kardashians, but a little better.
Did you watch The Crown? By the way,
I love it so much. I love it.
I mean, it really paints Charles in a pretty bad light for the most part, right? I mean, he's got his foundations and so forth that he's very passionate about climate change and that. And obviously, it's fact mixed with a lot of fiction, but I was fascinated by the story.
It's a great story, but the thing about The Crown is that they have put out so many statements saying, this is just a drama.
Yes.
Not everything we're doing right now is real. So I don't know, you have to I take The Crown with a grain of salt.
Me too. I do like the fact that it is based on some facts and you get to know them a little better in an entertaining way. Because as I said, otherwise I'm not picking up, the latest issue of Hello Magazine to see what's going on with the royal family.
Zero interest in Harry and Meghan. I wish them well. We've seen your docuseries. You've put out your story. We've heard both sides. Good luck, Godspeed. I hope you make lots of money on your next Netflix series.
All right, you're going to stick around because we've got some other stories, including the Wordle phenomenon.
Oh my God, I still.
Okay. Did you play it though?
Yes, of course I played it.
Okay, I did too.
Of course, and I was an idiot who posted my score on Twitter for the world to see.
You're one of those. Okay, well, Sandra's going to stick around. You stick around at home. We'll be back with more with Sandra Plagakis right after this. Don't go.
Bipolar disorder.
Substance addiction. Bulimia. OCD. Want to swap?
1 in 2, a flip of a coin. That's the same chance we'll experience a mental illness by the time we're 40. $1 a day can help change those odds.
On the next episode of Simply Cooking by Chef, I throw a holiday cocktail party.
We've got some smoked salmon on cucumber rounds here.
This is a party you don't want to miss.
Blood in the urine is the most common symptom of bladder cancer.
Don't ignore this warning sign, not even once.
Play 4 games of bingo from the comfort of your own home each Monday at 7 p.m. for your chance to win money from our $2,000 regular bingo or $5,000 super bingo night. Kiwanis TV Bingo, Mondays at 7 p.m. on Rogers TV.
Bum, 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 bum. $20. $20. We're on the line for $20.
Welcome back to this special edition of Daytime. Looking back on the top stories of 2022, in particular pop culture stories, and Sandra Plagakis from Sandra and Chris from 105.3 FM joining me for another segment. And the Wordle thing. So you got into it. I did too, but tell me, you have to be honest about how you did Wordle with our audience here.
Okay, can I just say, it was hard. Okay, Wordle is hard. And
it is.
And then you see people on Twitter bragging, I got a Wordle in my second attempt. It'd be like, yeah? Well, I'm going to find out what the Wordle is today and tell y'all I got it on the first attempt. I started Googling the answers and then lying about my Wordle scores.
Oh, boy.
Well, whatever.
But it was fun. I mean...
It was fun for 5 minutes.
I gave it about 3 weeks because the fun was, you know, my wife, Monica, and my stepson, Max, and I were doing it. So it was a bit of a competition within the household. But then after 3 weeks, like, okay, I tried it. It was great. And they kept going for, I think, another few weeks. But I was done pretty quick. But it was a pretty cool phenomenon.
It was a cool phenomenon. About 3 months ago, I was on the Twitter, which is like I like to call it that. Mm-hmm. And some guy posted his Wordle score, and I DM'd him. I said, hey, we're not doing that anymore. Okay, we're done with Wordle. We moved on to Knuckle, or whatever the other thing was.
Here's another really cool story from 2022. And the excitement will continue to build into 2023 because of Ryan Reynolds' interest in being a partner of a group that's going to buy the Senators. Because he doesn't have the money to buy the Senators. No. But the NHL themselves has said to groups that are looking at purchasing the Senators to make sure Ryan Reynolds is a part of this discussion with you.
Absolutely. Why wouldn't we?
It's a no-brainer.
It's totally a no-brainer. And then a few weeks ago, there was a rumor that The Weeknd might want in on it because he's his management team. He's got some people from Ottawa, and maybe, I mean, that was based on nothing.
Right.
But I'm still going with the rumor 100% because you know when you want something to be true, I'm in. So yeah, Ryan Reynolds at a hockey game. I would go to any hockey game that I could at that point just to see Ryan Reynolds show up. Yes.
Not only that. Then, and he just said it, right? He did an interview with like a group of high school students.
In Thunder Bay.
Yeah, that's right, in Thunder Bay. And he said to them during that interview is that if I got involved, I would make sure this team went global as far as fan. And he can do that.
He can do that.
Right?
Yeah, I mean... Everything right now when I go to see okay, here we are. I'm going to start criticizing.
Okay.
Here we go. I'm not. This isn't
not me. I hope
this is not a takedown piece. I'm just saying when I go to see the Ottawa Senators, I have a really good time and I enjoy myself and whatever. But I always think there should be more. This should be more.
Right.
There should be more. And I feel
than
like
just the game, you mean?
There should be a whole fan experience. You know,
right.
In the United States, there was tailgating, there's action. I get where we have a Canadian climate, but let's get some heating systems put in so that we can hang out outside and whatever.
Tailgate even if it's in the winter. I mean, this is more of a Canadian thing where, you know, a civilized society doesn't open their trunk and, you know, barbecue on a hibachi, you know?
Have you seen us at the Grey Cup? We can do that. No worries here. I just think that every time you go to a Sens game, it should be just a mind-blowing experience, and you should get your money's worth because God knows you just paid $30 for parking. So let's do this, people.
I just bought 8 tickets, actually, friends of ours. So we're going as a group on Thursday to see the Washington Capitals. But you're right. The in-game experience always needs to be worked on, but that's probably going to improve after we see new ownership. I'm excited about the future of the team.
I live in the West End. I'm a big fan of keeping them in the West End.
Right.
But if they go to LeBreton, so be it. That'd be great, too, I guess.
Another big story, which is a local story, is the return of RBC Blues Fest, and you were there, right?
I popped in and out over the course. I actually take the week off, and I just hobble around for the week and hang out. I'm there for the grilled cheese, the last food truck. It's pretty delicious. And Alanis Morissette was there this year, Rage Against the Machine. But I think despite the fact that it was a great show, Did you hear Shania Twain is coming this year?
Yes.
Yeah, so
that is exciting.
Like, are you kidding? I've never heard of an
That
announcement
might be the
this
biggest
early.
star I've ever interviewed, actually.
Really?
Was
You've interviewed
Shania
her?
Twain when I was hosting breakfast television in Montreal.
Oh.
So here's the weird. So
You're
I'm
such
standing.
a name dropper.
No, you started
You're name
it.
dropping.
She
I didn't say it. I just said I'm excited, but now you're like,
I
well,
mean,
I met her.
you brought up her
Smoke
name.
your pretend cigarette. Why don't you?
But it was embarrassing. It was embarrassing because you're sort of waiting, right? So it's one media person after another gets to sit
Right.
down in her hotel room. She's got the big suite there in Montreal, and I'm standing waiting for my turn. And she's getting fluffed up and everything, right? And so I'm just standing there, and I brought her flowers and everything. So I'm standing there, and I'm waiting and waiting, and then she does this. She does this. Are you coming? Like, isn't a person supposed to bring me to you? You're getting fluffed. I was so embarrassed. I'm like, yes, of course, yes, ma'am, Miss Twain. What do I call you, Shania? I was completely flustered. I never get flustered.
Did you recover?
I did. I recovered well, had a great interview, and actually took more time than I was supposed to, which, you always do.
You're not supposed to do that, but you do it anyway?
I do it anyway. I did that with Mayor Sutcliffe. He came in last week, and he said, I'm here for, a segment or two? And I said, yeah, 28 minutes and 30 seconds. We've got you here. We've had trouble getting you here, so we're doing a full half-hour show with you.
Really?
Listen, he's a busy
mayor?
guy now. Before we run out of time, Rogers as a whole has been running this, right? It's so incredibly successful. A lot of money won last year. Talking about the Snowsuit Fund 50-50. Where are we at right now?
I just checked before we started this segment, and we were at $317,000 over. Like, we're closing on a $320,000 total sales. The winner would take home half.
Nice.
So here's what's nice about it. We still have 1 month to go with ticket sales.
Right.
Last year, we cut someone a check for $409,000. We are on track right now to beat that if we continue the pace we're at.
Right.
I should also mention we have an early bird draw coming up on Friday. If you buy your tickets right now before Friday morning at 8:30 a.m., you will be in a draw to win a $5,000 gift card to Canadian Tire.
That'll help around this time of year.
Sure wouldn't hurt.
I got 45 seconds left here. How are you celebrating the holidays?
I am going to hang out with my children on Christmas morning. Then we are going to get into the car with the dog.
Okay.
And we're going to drive to Montreal to see Daddy-O.
Oh, nice.
Yes.
Nice.
And it's going to be lovely. My dad yells a lot because he's Greek, but he always says, I'm not upset. I'm not upset. This is how I talk. And he scares the children.
Opa's one of my favorite words.
That's
you know why?
right.
Because you can say it angrily, you can say it with joy, right? You can say Opa, or you can be like Opa.
That's right.
Right?
It's a very versatile word.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And you're a very versatile person. Really
Thank
appreciate
you.
the time, Sandra.
Thanks for
for joining
having
us. It's a real pleasure. Of course, you can catch Sandra each and every morning, 5:30 to 9. We'll be right back.
It's closing time, and you stayed out longer than you planned. So now you can't drive, and the buses have stopped running. You could always call your girlfriend. Or maybe your roommate? What about your best friend? You could just dial 1-888-TAXI-GUY or use the Taxi Guy app. The call and the app are free, and they both connect you to a local cab company to bring you home safely. Visit arrivealive.org to find out more. Arrive Alive, drive sober.
Heartbeat of Mother Earth, I feel you and embrace your warmth. I see you dancing through the trees. Your song floats on the summer breeze. Community, we come together. We are the voice of our ancestors. Thankful for how much you bless us. Feel the thunder in the drum. All our voices sing as one. Feel the power, feel the pride. Feel the drumbeat deep inside. Feel the boom, feel the bass. Let's let go of time and space. It'll make you dance, it'll make you sing. Ode Wegun, Wedok Wishin. The drum will lead you, take you far. Always remember who you are.
Hi, my name
name is Arcanta and I'm part of Encore Ottawa. My set will be coming out this week, so I hope you can watch it and enjoy it. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Jim Deeks, host of Canada Files. I hope you'll join me each week for interesting and informative discussions with some of Canada's most impressive people.
Welcome back to the show. Oh my goodness, having so much fun doing this look back. By the way, Michael Wood coming up in just a few minutes. We're going to look back on the year that was for the business community and, of course, talk about some of those other top stories. But I had a chance to sit down with new Mayor Mark Sutcliffe. And as I said with Sandra, he was coming in thinking he was going to do maybe 7 or 14 minutes. We did a full special edition of Daytime Ottawa, full half-hour episode with him. We're going to begin showing that full half hour on December 23rd, 5:30 p.m. We're going to play it throughout the entire holidays, so look at the schedule at rogerstv.com, but here's a little snippet for you. Mark, you know, before we get to some of the big issues of the day around the council table that everyone talked about during the campaign, I just want to take a bit of a look back of some of the top stories from 2022, local stories, and which stories stand out for you outside of, you know, running for mayor, and we have, you know, 11 new members of council. What other stories stood out to you?
Well, there's a few. Obviously, the convoy in downtown Ottawa in February is probably the biggest story of the year for local residents, and you know, I found that whole event very disturbing. I don't actually react emotionally to the news that often, but I found myself really frustrated and angry about what was happening, and so going forward, needless to say, we need to make sure that kind of event doesn't happen again in our capital. You know, I think what's going on right now in the healthcare system is another big story. Yeah. We know the workload that the great people at CHEO and at the Ottawa Hospital and the Queensway Carleton and the Montfort, what they're going through right now, and you know, the heroic work that they're undertaking in really challenging situations. That's been a big story.
Yeah, and sorry to interrupt, Mark. Is there anything we can do on a municipal level? Like, we all understand that, you know, it's a federal issue as well as, and more importantly, a provincial issue, but we know that the federal government and the provincial government are, I guess you can call it, in negotiations because of some of the language that's being used right now. But is there anything we can do better on a municipal level?
So first of all, I think we can all wear masks and do our best to prevent the spread of viruses, and whether it's COVID or seasonal flu or anything else, that's a huge step towards reducing the workload, reducing the pressure on the healthcare system. We can all do that as individuals, and the city and public health officials obviously have a responsibility to spread that message. Mm-hmm. Beyond that, there are a couple of healthcare files that I'm interested in going forward. One is the shortage of family doctors in Ottawa, so I'm working with my colleagues on council on some strategies to address that. And the other is, of course, the paramedics. Right. We've had so many level 0 events in our city this year. Level 0 meaning there's no ambulances available anywhere in the city. And we're working on some solutions to try to address that going forward. I've been in conversations with the provincial government and with hospital officials and with others on some potential solutions that would reduce the amount of time that it takes for a patient to be offloaded from a paramedic to the hospital, right? Which is one of the factors that's really driving this issue. So we've got a lot of work to do, and those are a couple of areas of priority in the healthcare area.
Another big story was of course, the storm, Mark, that affected so many residents. You know, just your thoughts on that, and our response, perhaps, as a city.
I think we need to be prepared for more of these events going forward, and I think we learned a lot from this experience. During the campaign, I spent a lot of time in the rural parts of Ottawa, and many of those were affected by the storm. There are obviously some residential parts of the city that were impacted as well. I talked to residents whose homes and barns and property were damaged, and some people still recovering.
Yeah.
And so my heart goes out to all the people who were affected by it, and I think we need to have more robust plans in place going forward to respond to these extreme weather events.
The LRT, another big story. Obviously, I mean, it's going to be talked about, I think, for many months to come, and I'm sure years to come. What stood out to you in the inquiry? What you've heard so far?
Well, I think we have to respond to the inquiry with some action, and we've already started to do that. We've established an LRT oversight committee at City Hall that will start to look at all the work that's being done, learn the lessons from Phase 1, make sure we don't repeat any mistakes in Phase 2, set the stage eventually for Phase 3. We need to adopt a lot of the other recommendations, make sure there's more transparency and accountability for the service going forward. But I think the most important thing is that we need to make sure the system is safe before we open up a new section of the tracks. And I think there were a lot of concerns expressed about whether this was rushed to meet some artificial deadline. And my commitment to the people of Ottawa is that won't happen again. We'll make sure that the system is safe before we open any more train stations, and before we expand the system any further, we'll make sure it's safe. And we'll make sure that there's a lot of transparency and accountability going forward.
I was just going to ask you about that, right? Because that was one of the most scathing parts of the inquiry, is a lot of the conversations that were happening behind the scenes, the fact that, they held back information from council members. What did you make of former Mayor Jim Watson's response?
So he's taken responsibility, and I respect that. And I think this inquiry report actually is an opportunity for us to reflect on everything that happened and now move forward. My focus is not on what happened in the past, beyond learning the lessons from it and implementing the recommendations. I'm focused on reestablishing trust in the system, getting people to use public transit again, including the train system. The light rail system's actually been running really well recently. The reliability of the system is higher than ever before. So it is a good system that people can use. And so we need to maintain that and make sure people understand it's a reliable system, rebuild trust. The fact that federal government employees will be going back to the office more frequently now is an opportunity for the system to get used more, which is good. So we got to implement the recommendations and build a better system for the people of Ottawa going forward.
You're going to stick around. We're going to take another quick break here, and we'll be back with more with Mayor Mark Sutcliffe right after this. Don't go anywhere.
From coast to coast, all across Canada, there's something very special going on. It's time to show your support. Time to spread the word. Time to demonstrate your commitment to safe and sober driving. Join thousands of Canadians and tie a ribbon on something or someone you love. And take the time to have a real conversation about impaired driving. Mad Project Red Ribbon. Tie it, wear it, show it, share it, live it. Find out more at mad.ca.
Join me for Season 3 of Paula Roy's Favorite Foods. Whew, that was a lot. I think I need a nap.
It's a new season of The New Fly Fisher on Rogers TV.
Yo. Yep. Okay, I'll be there.
Hey, I'm Picasso in Vontief. I'm so happy to be involved with Encore Ottawa Season 3. can't wait for you guys to see what I have in store for you.
Welcome back to this special edition of Daytime Ottawa, looking back on some of the top stories of 2022. And one of those stories, of course, was our municipal election. And you probably recognize our next guest as he ran for City Council. I am joined by Michael Wood from Ottawa Consultants and a small business advocate, which you did such a great job, during the entire pandemic, and of course continue to do so, right, Mike?
Thank you very much. It was a long 2 years, but we all learn a lot as we go along, right?
Yeah, for sure. Well, let's talk about running for municipal government. What was that experience? First of all, why did you decide to run?
Well, the one thing that if the pandemic taught me anything is I have a passion for helping people. And so it was able to put me into that arena where I had all these people. And, the interesting thing, previously, I think you were speaking with Kimothy a little bit about mental health.
Yeah.
So the conversation while I was advocating for small businesses went from I'm financially in trouble to my mental health. So at that point, on top of that, I started putting together mental health town halls, addiction town halls, because one of the newspapers in Ontario was talking about the alcoholism rate going through the roof.
That's right.
In Ontario, right? So the scenario being was, if I got anything positive out of the pandemic, it reinforced the idea that I have a passion for helping people.
Right.
So at that point, people were asking me if I was going to run for City Council, and I finally said to myself, I have a passion for helping. I will do this, and I'll see what happens. And it didn't turn out the way that obviously I had hoped for.
Well, of course,
but I think at the end of the day, it was a great experience, a great learning experience, and you never know what 2026 will hold.
Oh, I like it already. So, what do you make then of first of all, let's talk about our new mayor, Mayor Mark Sutcliffe. Certainly, maybe not a surprise that he won, but as I said to Kimothy, a lot of people surprised by how many votes he won by. What do you make of Mayor Mark Sutcliffe?
Well, first of all, congratulations again to Mayor Sutcliffe. The scenario being, I think, what we all saw with City Council over the last previous years was division. Mm-hmm. And right now, everything looks like everybody's working together, which is great. And I think that part of moving forward will have to definitely be working together.
Right.
And, everybody comes to the table. All the different communities in the city have different needs, different requirements. But I think that we have to take, in some ways, the politics out of City Council that we've seen along the way and say we are here for the betterment of the city, we're here for the betterment of the residents, and how do we all do that together?
Are you encouraged that this City Council can do that?
I think so. I think that, with the leadership that Mayor Sutcliffe is going to demonstrate and has demonstrated, I think at the end of the day, part of being a mayor in any city is working with everybody. And, the councillors in the west end of the city have to recognize that there's potentially different needs in the east side of the city and vice versa. And, yes, we represent wards, or councillors represent wards, but we also have to represent the city as a whole.
You did a lot of advocacy, of course, during the pandemic, a lot of small businesses suffering through lockdowns and restrictions and so forth, and then the convoy comes. Tell me about what you were hearing from small businesses in that downtown area, and we got to think of the employees too, right? That lost out on a lot of work.
Absolutely.
During that time.
So, as you say, not only did we have the pandemic and the lockdowns and people being sent home, and that's still a factor, right? Where different communities in the city, downtown especially, perhaps doesn't have the same customer base it once did, and then of course the convoy rolls in, and the people I've spoken to, I think that the truckers that originally came to protest protested and left, and then it became a political issue. And I remember there was one night I was on social media, and there was somebody in the media that had posted saying somebody had called in and was saying, I'm too afraid to go and get groceries. And these are the things that, yes, people have the right to protest, but we don't have the right to interfere in the day-to-day lives that we all experienced and lived through. And I think that was the biggest challenge. I know that some employees, I saw it, I know you saw it too, where they said they were afraid to go to work or they were being accosted going to work because they had a mask on. So, you know, with the convoy, yes, it just added to that much more pressure that we've all been living under, and again, adding to people's mental health and the impact on it.
What about this rumor that they may be coming back for, I'm not sure if I'd call it a protest. I'm not sure why they're coming. They're calling it the Olive Branch Edition, returning in February.
I think, you know, the one thing that I will just put out there to everybody that's watching. A lot of people would ask me, how is it possible that I got the attention of all these MPs and MPPs to meet with me to try and help people or resolve my problems that, in theory, I guess I was protesting, right? And the thing was, it was through politeness, kindness, and solution-driven manners. So the thing is I know that some people would get very upset with the government at various points about X, Y, and Z. That's not going to help you. And so by anybody coming back to protest again, I know that it's not going to get them the results that they think they need. So I think that we just all have to return to this idea of kindness matters, not affect the people that live where the protest happened, and all just work together to move forward and pick up and keep going.
I got about 45 seconds. Small business recovery. How is it going? What have you heard from the community, business community?
Depending on the sector that people are in, I think it has recovered to a degree.
Right.
I know that I have friends that are in a business park, and around the business park there were different offices of government employees, and those people are still working from home, so they did lose their customers. So the scenario with small business recovery, I think it truly depends on location. Like anything with business, location, location.
Yeah.
And I think it also comes down to the sector that people are in. I think that, you know, if we're looking at Elgin Street, I know some of the restaurants are packed down there in the evenings, and then, you know, out in the suburbs as well too, but I think we're on the right path. We just have to keep moving forward.
Mike, appreciate you coming. Thanks so much. We'll be right back after this.
On the next episode of Simply Cooking by Chef, I throw a holiday cocktail party.
We've got some smoked salmon on cucumber rounds here.
This is a party you don't want to miss.
Play 4 games of bingo from the comfort of your own home each Monday at 7 p.m. for your chance to win money from our $2,000 regular bingo or $5,000 super bingo night. Kiwanis TV Bingo, Mondays at 7 p.m. on Rogers TV.
Bum, 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 bum. $20. $20. We're on the line for $20.
Hi, my name is Arkantel and I'm part of Encore Ottawa. My set will be coming out this week, so I hope you can watch it and enjoy it. Thank you.
Welcome back to the show. Just want to end the show by saying a big thank you to all the guests. You know, from yesterday we had a great sort of holiday edition where my former co-host TL Rader joined us on the show. A lot of fun there. I know that all the crew and volunteers had a great time on that show. And again today, Kimothy Walker, Sandra Plagakis, Mike Wood, and a reminder too, you saw that snippet with Mayor Mark Sutcliffe. We did a full half-hour special edition of Daytime Ottawa, sitting down with our new mayor. And that will begin airing on December 23rd at 5:30 p.m. We're going to run that through the entire holidays, so you'll have a chance to watch it between December 23rd and January 6th. You can head over to rogerstv.com to find the full schedule. And also should mention, while you're over there at rogerstv.com, if you have a story idea, if you own a small business, if you're a local artist of any kind, if you're putting on an event, if you're a charity, a nonprofit, please reach out to us. You can get a hold of our producer, Stan Newton, right there on the website as well. And if you want to become a volunteer, we're a volunteer-driven television station. A huge thanks to all of our volunteers. You can fill out an application and be a part of this wonderful live show with us here on Rogers TV. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, and Happy Holidays. We'll see you in the new year.
Call call the Rogers TV viewer response line. Email us or connect with us on social media.
Hi, I'm Meg from AIM Fitness, and I'm here with my buddy Fit Finley. Join us every week for Fit Over 50. We'll take you through some low-impact and high-intensity workouts designed to improve your strength and your balance. All you'll need is a resistance band, some light hand weights, and also your water bottle and a sturdy chair. Tune in right here on Rogers TV and let us be part of your weekly routine.
I'm Derick Fage, and I encourage you to join me each and every weekday at 2 p.m. for an edition of Daytime Ottawa. We will share with you some fabulous stories, inspirational stories, and of course, recipes from local chefs. We'll tell you about some wonderful musical performances, introduce you to local businesses and charities, and so much more. Join us here on Daytime Ottawa at 2 p.m. weekdays with repeats at 6 and 11 p.m.